Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your
Hey guys, you're watching Mia's new pair of glasses, and in today's video we're going to talk about the truth behind the California planned power outages and what that means to you. But first, membership to my private website is closing. The deadline to get in is on October 23rd, 2019 at midnight Pacific Coast time. After that date, no new members will be accepted. Right now, I am about 10 videos into my new series, which is the Masters and Controllers series. This series contains the truth about the world we live in. I show you who is really controlling our world, how they control it, and ultimately why. If you want to understand your world and what has been done to you to keep you a slave, you need to see this series. Everyone wants to know why these unprecedented planned power outages are happening and what it really means. They know something isn't right, but they don't know what it is. And if you haven't wondered about it or thought about why it's happening, you should. But while everyone is talking about it and arguing over it, distracted by things that do not matter, everyone is missing why it is really being done and what the connection is between those planned power outages and the Empcoe catastrophe and its preliminary, devastating signs. If you were a controller and you knew the catastrophe was coming, how would you ensure that society would stay intact as long as possible, even after the preliminary signs and small disasters had started? A mainstream population you had convinced that no major catastrophes had happened for millions of years. One that believes life will continue to go on just like it has. How do you avoid the public freaking out even as the signs become more and more widespread? Since when does a supposed Category 2 typhoon contain 2 to 3 feet of torrential rain? Since when do typhoons contain massive tornadoes, and in Japan, of all places? And since when do 5.7 earthquakes happen at the exact time that a typhoon makes landfall? If you were a controller, you would slowly condition the population over time. Through conditioning, you would get them to get used to the idea of having to deal with and prepare for disasters. This has been done in many ways over the years, by movies, television shows, publicized natural disasters, and much more. But signs have clearly progressed. Time is running out, and they need to kick it up a notch due to recent wild and devastating weather events. So why the planned power outages? They tell us exactly why if you just listen closely. So let's listen to some highlights from the press conference.
Again, we take this red flag warning extremely seriously. We all know the devastation that fires can cause. And so this is a time to be extremely vigilant. We are here to assure Oaklanders that the City of Oakland is fully prepared for the potential planned power outage. We also want to stress that this is an opportunity where we have a warning about a planned power outage, and that we stress that Oaklanders must be prepared for all emergencies. We also want to stress that this is an opportunity where we have a warning, and that we stress that Oaklanders must be prepared for all emergencies. Must be prepared for all emergencies. Must be prepared for all emergencies.
As part of conditioning, they've introduced a situation that urges people to get prepared for any disaster scenario, but a short-term one, of course, to begin with. They've done it to start getting people used to the idea of preparing for situations with no power and no access to everyday life necessities like food, water, gas, etc. But they knew this was coming, so they have been setting this up for years now. They started blaming something like the California wildfires on power companies' equipment like Pg&E. Then they publicized news story after news story of the blame and the lawsuits regarding those deadly fires, even though that wasn't the cause and it won't be the cause of future fires. But they knew power outages would be a huge preliminary sign of the coming Empcoe. They also knew that fires were going to be a huge problem. You only need to use one part of the country, one event, to condition an entire population. Then you blast every news source with coverage of that event, so it's in everyone's minds, even people that don't live in California, to stock up and prepare in the event of a disaster. Another reason they did it, they knew that one of the biggest early signs of the Empcoe would be power outages. So not only are they conditioning people to get used to and prepare for disasters, but now, when the outages do happen, people will think they have been done on purpose. This is an electromagnetic catastrophe that is coming. So plasma and electricity and power equipment don't mix well. So you get things happening like the October 6th string of transformer explosions in Huntington Beach, California, that sent fireballs into the air.
Overnight, a California Oktoberfest celebration rocked by an apparent transformer explosion, sending that massive fireball into the sky in Huntington Beach.
You could see the fire roll up from the sides of the building.
We could feel the heat of the flame like on our foreheads.
Festival goers say they saw multiple explosions and people started running.
That man pulled me out of my booth, and then that was where the final explosion was.
The owner of the festival hall alerted firefighters to a strange smell and immediately started evacuating people. The first calls coming in just after 8 p.m. local time, officials rushing to the scene.
Affirmative. We have several of our crew members, veterans, and I need give me 5 ambulances for now.
Pat Brazel was at the festival describing to GMA that sheer moment of panic.
Throughout the chaos, as people were running by and the security guards were screaming at people to get towards the nearest exit. So I just grabbed my fiance's hand and we started heading out the door of that event center. And that's when the second explosion happened.
Officials now investigating what caused that underground electrical vault to explode.
We also have changes happening with the sun, which is causing extreme temperature differentials. Now we're getting blizzards in the fall and sudden extreme temperature changes. What do extreme low temperatures and blizzards during harvest time do to an already suffering agricultural business due to flooding? Well, it doesn't help it. Temperatures in Denver dropped 70 degrees in just 18 hours. On Wednesday, Denver experienced bright, sunny, almost summer-like weather with 83-degree temperatures. But on Thursday, just before midnight, the temperature in the city plunged to a wintry 13 degrees, a record low for this time of year. Assume also a record sudden drop. The 70-degree temperature drop from one day to the next nearly broke a local record. It tied for the second largest temperature change in the city since 1872, when records began, according to CBS Denver. And whether or not you want to listen to the records and CBS Denver, I'll leave up to you.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your